Welcome back to another lore video on Black Myth Wukong. I hope you're all doing well. It's been a while since we've heard anything new from the devs about the upcoming DLC. I was really hoping for some updates during Summer Game Fest, but it looks like we'll have to wait a little longer. So, I figured this would be the perfect time to recap the story so far, take a step back to look at the bigger picture, and maybe even dive into some predictions for future DLCs, based on both leaks and fan theories. While some of these theories and bits of lore don't have solid evidence just yet, they're still worth exploring if you truly want to appreciate the depth of this game. Let's start by breaking down the plot into 3 key points. 1. Wukong's disappointment with the powers of the 3 realms. 2. The Celestial Court's grudge against the Buddhist Realm. 3. The Destined One Plan. Let's start with why Wukong's disappointment with the powers of the 3 realms led him to abandon his Buddhahood. The game appears to be set during the Dharma Semblance Age, the second of the 3 ages of Buddhism. The first is the Age of the True Dharma, which lasts 500 years. This was the era when Wukong was imprisoned beneath the 5 Elements Mountain, and when the journey to retrieve the true scriptures took place. By contrast, the Dharma Semblance Age, where the game seems to unfold, marks a decline in the sincerity and purity of Buddhist practice. In this age, while the teachings of the Buddha still exist, people focus more on rituals and outward appearances than on true understanding and enlightenment. It's an era filled with false Buddhas, excessive offerings, and performative piety. A clear example is Yellowbrow, who created a counterfeit thunderclap temple and began teaching his own distorted version of Buddhism. Enlightenment becomes rare, attainable only by a few with exceptional wisdom. Wukong, after attaining Buddhahood, becomes disillusioned by what he sees. The Buddhism he once believed in is now corrupted. There are too many offerings and tributes, not out of devotion, but because of blind worship and superstition. In a moment of reflection while drinking with Baji, he remarks that these offerings should go to those in need. If I eat them, he says, those people will have less to eat. His empathy with the suffering of mortals only deepens his discontent. He also recalls that less than half of the Yaoguai they encountered during the journey could actually be punished, because most were connected to powerful divine beings. Golden-winged Peng was related to the Buddha himself. The single-horned rhinoceros king was the mount of Taishang Laojun. Defeated or not, they were simply taken back to be re-educated. Meanwhile, Yaoguais like the Bull Demon King's family, who only wished to live peacefully, suffered cruel punishments. And now, grotesque Buddha heads sprout across the land, devouring or corrupting ordinary beings, like divine wrath gone unchecked. To Wukong, the system is unjust. Those close to power are spared, while others suffer. Even the Jade Emperor of the Celestial Court shows pettiness and cruelty. When the Marquis of Fengxian County, in a moment of grief and anger over his son's crimes, flipped the offering altar, the Jade Emperor punished the entire county with drought. He demanded absurd conditions for forgiveness. Only when a rooster finished pecking a mountain of rice, a dog finished licking a mountain of flour, and a candle flame burned through an iron lock would the rain return. Divine justice became a farce, and the mortal realm is no better. The king of Bixu, spellbound by lust toward a fox spirit, fell ill. When a dear demon Taoist told him that an elixir made from the hearts of 1,111 children could cure him, he ordered the mass sacrifice of innocent lives. His desire outweighed morality, and his crown granted him the power to act on it. Wukong saw corruption in all 3 realms, heavenly, mortal, and Buddhist. The ruling systems, no matter how divine their origin, were tainted by greed, cruelty, and favoritism. He no longer wished to stand among such ranks. To make matters worse, Wukong sensed that the headband placed on him during the journey had never truly disappeared. He still felt watched, surveilled, or even controlled, uncertain of when he might be used again, turned into a pawn like the Bull Demon King. Uneasy and embittered, he finally made his choice. He renounced his Buddhahood and returned to Mount Huaguo, seeking freedom from the chains of divine authority. Wukong's abandonment of Buddhahood became the opportunity the Celestial Court needed to strike at the Buddhist realm. But why do they hold such a deep grudge against Mount Lingshan? The Buddhist realm on Mount Lingshan and the Taoist Celestial Court are like two rival regimes. They coexist, influence the mortal world, and maintain diplomatic respect on the surface. But when one side gains power, the other inevitably declines. Hidden tensions between them escalated after the success of the journey to the west, which significantly expanded the influence of the Buddhist side. During that journey, many powerful Yaoguai, such as the Black Bear, Yellow Wind, the Hundred-Eyed Taoist, Red Boy, and the Bull Demon King, were defeated and converted by the Buddhist realm. This shift in allegiance disrupted the balance between the two powers. According to the Hundred-Eyed Taoist's journal, the Queen Mother of the West once remarked, "The other side has taken too much advantage. This time, we will get it all back, principle and interest." Clearly, she was referring to the Buddhist realm. Another source of resentment stems from the dwindling means of sustaining immortality within the Celestial Court. In this game, the deities of the Celestial Court are not truly immortal. Even in the original novel, divine beings enjoy long lifespans, hundreds or thousands of years, but their longevity is not infinite. They maintain it by consuming sacred peaches, divine wine, or elixir pills. In Black myth Wukong, the essence of life is referred to as will, and there are only a few ways to cultivate it. The first is through rare natural phenomena. For instance, the Queen Mother's peach garden, whose fruit takes over 3,000 years to ripen, or the ginseng fruit of immortal Genuine, which can extend life by thousands of years. The second is through refining elixirs from living beings who possess high levels of will, using the furnaces of Taishang Lao Jun. These life-extending resources are traditionally shared at divine gatherings like the Queen Mother's Peach Banquet. However, in the past, due to Wukong's havoc in heaven, he consumed a vast number of sacred peaches and elixir pills. This led to a major shortage of resources for the Celestial Court, pushing them toward desperate alternatives, such as transforming the Web Hollow and creating more Yaoguai to serve as raw material for elixir production. In contrast, the Buddhist realm doesn't rely on alchemy. Instead, it draws power and longevity from offerings, incense, worship, and tributes. The more believers it has, the stronger it becomes. Thus, when Wukong abandoned his Buddhahood, the Celestial Court saw a rare opportunity to strike at the Buddhist realm and diminish its influence. A series of covert schemes was set in motion. Knowing that Wukong was once again at large, the Celestial Court used his past rebellion as a pretext to ask the Buddhist side for help in bringing him back under control. Out of diplomatic obligation, the Buddhist realm responded by dispatching 5 former Yaoguai that Wukong had previously subdued. Now reformed, they followed the teachings of Buddhas or Bodhisattvas. Among the Yaoguai dispatched by the Buddhist realm, only Black Bear Guai seems to hesitate. He is the only one who appears content with his current position as a disciple of Guanyin. Unlike the others, he aspired to Buddhism even before being subdued by Wukong, and he harbors no desire for revenge or escape. When asked about the task Guanyin gave him, to confront Wukong, he hesitated and remarked, "I'm willing to serve, but my abilities are mediocre. I'm afraid I can't handle such an important matter. If it's something thorny, I might not be able to manage it." However, under the influence of Wukong's relic, he too became vengeful toward Wukong. Fortunately, after being freed from the relic's control, he awakened and revealed that the Celestial Court was behind the entire scheme. However, the Celestial Court knew these Yaoguai still harbored deep grudges. They secretly promised them Wukong's relics, powerful artifacts that could greatly enhance their cultivation, as a reward for their cooperation. In doing so, they weaponized the Yaoguai as pawns in a larger plot, to undermine the Buddhist realm, harm the Bodhisattvas and allies who once supported Wukong, and prevent the monkeys of Mount Waguo from retrieving his relics, fearing they might resurrect or reincarnate him. In the end, the Celestial Court's true goal is to trap Wukong in a stone shell, a mindless, powerless vessel, forever stripped of his will, his freedom, and his legacy. And to break free from all schemes and control, Wukong devised the Destined One Plan with help from some unexpected allies. A plan to break free from the headband by erasing the former self and creating a worthy successor who could inherit all of Wukong's powers, memories, and carry on the title of Great Sage. It was a different form of immortality, unlike the cruel methods practiced by the Three Realms. At first, this plan existed only in Wukong's mind. True to his personality, he carried it out alone without telling anyone. However, help eventually came from some old acquaintances and from those who simply possessed a strong sense of justice. But did the Buddhist side, Guanyin, Maitreya, and the Buddha, know about this plan? They definitely foresaw that Wukong would eventually abandon the Buddhist realm, just as they once foresaw the 81 ordeals during the journey to the West. And so, while they did not intervene directly, they helped in subtle, indirect ways. As mentioned in the Black Bear Journal, there was a Dharma assembly, likely held to discuss how the Buddhist side should respond to the Celestial Court's call to suppress Wukong. It was probably during this assembly that the decision of who would be dispatched was made. Guanyin understands Wukong the most, not only because she guided him onto the right path and reformed his ways, but also because she is always the first person Wukong turns to in times of need. Her name literally means one who hears the cries of the world, a being who understands all suffering. She knew how Wukong felt and sensed his desire for freedom. That's why she dispatched Black Bear Guai for this task instead of Red Boy, who is more calm and reliable. Before departing, Black Bear Guai touched the encaging band on his head and sighed. To risk one's life just to remove a headband? It's not worth it. Some might think he was speaking about himself, but no. He was content under Guanyin's guidance. He was referring to Wukong's plan for reincarnation, implying that Guanyin had already shared the plan with him. Another ally came in the form of Erlang Shen, who was ordered by the Celestial Court to lead the Yaoguai forces to subdue Wukong and later distribute the relics. He and Wukong have a long, complicated history, but the mutual respect between them is undeniable. After defeating Wukong, Erlang kept none of the relics. Instead, he preserved a portion of Wukong's memories, particularly those that embodied Wukong's spirit of rebellion, freedom, and unrestrained will. As someone with a strong sense of justice, Erlang knew all too well the darker side of the Celestial Court. He understood Wukong's desire to break free from control, something he too secretly yearned for, but was too bound by duty to pursue. Regretful, he sought out Maitreya for counsel, knowing the future Buddha had already foreseen all of this. In response, Maitreya created the Mount Mei painting for Erlang to retreat into, to hide and reflect in peace. Concealed from the Celestial Court's eyes, Erlang asked his brothers from Meishan, disguised as Yaoguai, to secretly assist in Wukong's plan, testing the Destined One's strength to ensure he would be ready for the trials to come. One might ask, where are the other important figures on the Buddhist side, especially Jin Chanzi, Wukong's master, and the Buddha himself, Tathagata? Where are they in all of this? Buddhism has always followed the principle of causality, the law of cause and effect. Because of this, Buddhist figures rarely act directly to change events. Instead, they create circumstances that allow things to unfold naturally, in accordance with karma. This is especially true in Journey to the West. For example, when Tathagata Buddha was summoned to stop Wukong from wreaking havoc in the Celestial Court, he did not attack him directly. Instead, he made a bet. If Wukong could leap out of his palm, he would be free. But Wukong, driven by arrogance, failed, leading to his imprisonment beneath the Five Elements mountain. That bet wasn't punishment. It was a lesson, a test to offer Wukong the opportunity to awaken from pride and choose another path. Similarly, when Guanyin subdued Red Boy, she didn't fight or provoke him. She simply abandoned her lotus throne. Red Boy, tricked by his own arrogance and mischief, entered it himself and was captured. Again, the method was indirect, cause and effect, not force. So, when Wukong finally achieved Buddhahood, what was the last thing he desired? To remove the headband. But to attain true enlightenment, one must first let go of all desires. This meant Wukong was not yet ready to become a true Buddha. As always, the Buddha created a circumstance. He left the headband on Wukong, not out of cruelty, but because he foresaw the day when Wukong would choose to abandon the Buddhist realm. Yet he gave Wukong space to reach that choice on his own. I personally believe in the theory that Jin Chanzi is the old monkey, based on subtle journal entries and familiar tropes found in wuxia tales between master and disciple. One such journal entry reads, "The immortals of the celestial court say he is gambling. The Buddha on Mount Lingshan says that gambling inevitably leads to loss. He says he neither gambles nor loses. He is just waiting for the stories the destined ones will tell him upon their return. And he has never heard two identical stories." This hints at someone who knows the outcome, yet still allows others to walk their own path. Jin Chanzi helped Wukong's plan by sending his many descendants to complete the task, hoping to help his beloved disciple break free from a rock once again, just as he did long ago. As a true master, he merely points the way. Whether the disciple can overcome the final challenge or not, that is up to the disciple alone. And even if the disciple fails, should the master give them the answer? No. To give shortcuts is to rob the student of growth. That's why the old monkey didn't reveal the truth when the destined one received the headband again. A good master instead encourages them to keep trying, because the struggle itself is essential to enlightenment. Some say that the Buddha is portrayed as a villain in the game's bad ending, when the destined one receives the headband again. But this is not a bad ending in a narrative sense. It is simply the outcome for those who didn't complete the battle with Erlang Shen, didn't recover all parts of Wukong's memories, and didn't fully strive toward true enlightenment. This is the principle of causality at work. Those who do not truly seek understanding become trapped in a cycle of illusion. In the Dharma semblance age, also called the Age of Counterfeit Dharma, enlightenment cannot be achieved half-heartedly. Only those who give everything to seek truth can finally be free. With the Destined One plan succeeding, Sun Wukong is the one who has the final laugh. He overcomes all the schemes and obstacles set by the Celestial Court, having shed his former shell bound by the headband. Incarnated or not, there will always be a monkey who dares to challenge all gods and deities, roaming the three realms by his own free will. Now that we've recapped all the main story points so far, we can logically predict which Yaoguai and characters are likely to appear in future DLCs. The first plot revolves around Wukong's disappointment with how the three realms are obsessed with chasing immortality, especially on the side of the Celestial Court. The Destined One damaged the Yaoguai farm in the Webbed Hollow, which directly affected Lao Jun's longevity pill refining. When the Destined One removed all the seals, the Crane Immortal, one of Lao Jun's subordinates, immediately appeared to warn him. Shortly after, the Supreme Inspector was dispatched to stop the Destined One, likely because he was the one who managed to stop Sun Wukong during his original havoc in heaven. It's highly likely that we'll encounter other characters related to Lao Jun in the upcoming DLCs. First are the Golden Horned and Silver Horned brothers, two Yaoguai who were once Lao Jun's servants in charge of his furnace. They previously stole their master's magical gourd and caused trouble by disguising themselves to capture Tang Sanzang, even managing to trap Sun Wukong inside the gourd. Second is the Azure Bull, or the Single-Horned Rhinoceros, Lao Jun's mount. He once stole his master's golden ring, which can be used to snatch opponents' weapons, and humiliated many celestial forces in the past. Another potentially significant character is Genuan Daxian, who possesses one of the most sacred sources of immortality, the ginseng fruit tree. Each fruit resembles a newborn baby, takes 9,000 years to ripen, and grants 47,000 years of life to those who eat it. He is also Wukong's sworn brother, which could make their encounter especially interesting. On the Buddhist side, many Yaoguai connected to Buddhism often received special treatment during the journey to the West. Some were even dispatched by Buddhas or bodhisattvas to carry out karmic punishments despite their violent deeds. One example is the golden-haired Ho, the mount of Guanyin Bodhisattva. He secretly descended to the mortal realm while the shepherd boy he served was asleep. He wielded 3 purple-gold bells as magical weapons, capable of conjuring fire, smoke, and sand. Another notable group is the trio from Shituo Ridge, among the most difficult opponents in Journey to the West. All 3 were tied to divine beings, and even to the Buddha himself. The azure lion Yaoguai was originally the steed of the Buddhist deity Wenshu, Bodhisattva. The yellow-tusked elephant, Yaoguai, was the mount of Puxian, Bodhisattva. And the golden-winged Peng was a powerful eagle and said to be a spiritual brother of the Buddha's mother. Though they escaped to the mortal world and devoured countless innocents, they were never truly punished due to their divine connections. Including these Yaoguai in the story would be a fitting way to highlight the Buddhist side's favoritism and moral contradiction. And that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the story so far and where it might lead in future Black Myth Wukong DLCs. With so many threads left hanging, there's no doubt the next chapters will take us even deeper into the conflicts between realms and Wukong's ultimate plan for freedom. I'll definitely be covering each DLC as it drops, breaking down lore, character arcs, and how the mythos evolves. But that's not all. There are more rich, lore-heavy games on the horizon. Wuchang, Fallen Feathers, is shaping up to be a dark, mythological journey rooted in Chinese folklore, and I'll be diving into that when it releases. And just recently announced, Blood Message, a historical epic set in the Tang Dynasty along the legendary Silk Road. It promises a grounded yet intense story wrapped in real events, and honestly, it looks stunning. So if you enjoy these lore explorations and want to uncover the secrets behind myths, legends, and history through games, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you won't miss what's coming next. Until then, stay curious, and may your journey through the realms be guided by both wisdom and will.